Hey guys, welcome back to Choosing Recovery. I'm Olivia.
I'm Scott 8.
And today we have an amazing story from Tully. So what was your drug of choice or choices?
So my drug of choice evolved over a little while. Early on, it was methamphetamine. Towards the end of my drug use, the last 5 or 6 years, it was opiates and cocaine.
Yeah, wow.
Yeah.
So what age did you start using any kind of substance?
I think the first time I smoked pot, I was 13. My parents had a pretty hefty wine cellar that I used to raid when I was young. My first experience with hard drugs was at 17, and that was with methamphetamine.
Okay.
Yeah, almost every interview we have done, the age of people starting has been 12, 13 years old. You know, it's such a common number, and it's a common trend to see like how things start. You know,
it's literally done in research. Yeah, that people are starting at those ages. I think it's that time when you get that foot out the door. You know, you get that little bit of leeway and start experiencing with things. Yeah. Okay. So how long have you used for?
So I used pretty steadily from the age of 17, 18 till I was 30. So I've had periods of intermittent sobriety. I had about a year and a half at one point. I relapsed. I had 9 months at one point. I relapsed. But I would say about 12 to 13 years I used pretty regularly.
So who did your addiction affect?
Everybody around me. When I am using, I am a tornado.
Yeah.
I will destroy every relationship that I have. I will literally manipulate anyone and everyone that I can to get what I want, to get what I need. It affects my family, it affects my friends, what friends I have at the time, if any. It affects my children. I'm definitely a vortex of destruction when I am getting high.
Absolutely. It's crazy what our addiction will make us do.
So what led you to get clean?
I was tired of doing the same thing over and over again. I had attempted to just drink alcohol. I had attempted to just smoke pot. Marijuana maintenance was one that I believed in for a long time. But every single attempt to try and use any mind-altering substance like a normal human being led me back to my drug of choice every single time.
Yep.
And I got sick of being broke. I got sick of being sick.
Yeah.
I got sick of living life every day with the sole purpose of getting high. And I want to be with drug addicts that have to be physically separated from the dope. I was never that person that could walk into a meeting, pick up a white chip, and get dope. I have to be physically separated. And I got in a little bit of trouble, and I spent 9 months in jail. And I think that 9-month time out really gave me some time to figure out what I was doing wrong, examine a lot of my toxic traits, and come to terms with what I needed to do to change those. And I took a good, long, hard look at myself. And when I got out of jail, I just didn't look back. You know, I needed that time. It allowed me to get in tune with the person that I wanted to be, the man that I wanted to be.
Awesome.
And it was, you know, I think that was kind of the tipping point for me, for sure.
Absolutely. We both spent time in jail, and we always say it was like a blessing. It's that time that you get to reflect on your I never knew I had a problem until I ended up in jail. And I was like, wait, maybe my life is unmanageable right now. literally had no idea until I was faced with that, and I was like, wow.
That's why I stress to people, like you said, you do need that time to separate yourself from that. So like in opportunities like that, if you don't go to jail, but you do have other opportunities, go like get into a program, you know. What's a year, maybe 2 out of your life compared to the rest of your life? You do need to learn how to have self-care, to love yourself, to know what you want to do, to know what you really want, not because probation told you, not because your family wants it, you know, things like that. You have to want it for yourself, and to be separated from that lifestyle. Like from where I lived, I went 3 hours away, and that's the farthest like I've really been from home. I've always been a homebody. I always said I'll never leave home. And when I went there, I got to finally learn who I am, and it saved my life. And now I was able to come back home, even though I thought I could never stay clean out here. I proved myself wrong in so many ways. And that's because I did it for myself, not because everybody else wanted it for me. I learned how to say no. I learned how not to hang around certain people and not feel bad about it because I thought they were my friends, you know? So,
Absolutely.
So good for you, man. That's awesome. Super proud of you.
Early on, they gave me the option to get out. I've been in there for maybe a month and a half, and they were going to reinstate my probation. And I took a peek, and I thought about it, and I knew that I wasn't ready.
That's awesome.
And I told them that I would rather just finish out my probation time in jail. And I chose to do, and that's probably what saved my life, honestly.
That's an amazing choice to make. I actually was offered rehab, and I was like, give me the longest one, I need it. So that's great that you can be in that like bad state of mind, but still know like, hey, you need to do more for yourself. You know, let's actually try and succeed and push yourself. Like knowing what you need in those hard times is really key to saving your life.
Absolutely.
That's great. So how are you staying clean today?
So I'm pretty active in the recovery community where I live. I have sponsees that I work with. I work a 12-step program. I have a connection with a higher power of my choosing today that I continue to stay in contact with. I have a solid network of reliable friends that would do anything for me in a heartbeat, and I rely on them a lot. You know, if I'm struggling with a decision, or if I have something going on, I will run it by 3 or 4 different people and kind of get a consensus on, you know, what my best option or what my best direction should be. And you know, generally with the people that I have in my life today, I find myself making the right choice most of the time. You know, it's always an ongoing process. I'm always growing. I'm always learning.
And things get easier as time goes on. And that would, if you're new in recovery, just know that it does get easier. And everything's not perfect. You know, that pink cloud isn't a permanent thing, but it gets so much easier out there. It does, and your life becomes enjoyable.
What was your biggest accomplishment within your recovery?
So, I've done a lot of things that I never imagined I'd be able to accomplish. I think probably the most amazing for me is the trust that I've been able to rebuild with my loved ones. You know, I've gotten my own place, and I've got a nice car. I've got all the monetary things that I always thought would make me happy. And don't get me wrong, they're great. But I think that the relationship that I've been able to rebuild and the connections that I've been able to establish where people trust me. You know, I can walk into a room and people don't hide their purses from me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I get trusted to watch children and, like, you know, do things that drug addicts me would never have been able to do. And that's always a blessing to just just know that other people are seeing the change in me, like I'm seeing the change.
Good for you, man. That's awesome.
That is so good to hear. It is. That's amazing. If you could say something to somebody that's still out there actively using, what would you say to them?
So that's a tough one. I thought about this when I read your questions, and I thought about what I would have wanted to hear when I was in active addiction. And the answer is, probably nothing. I honestly wouldn't have cared what you would have told me at the time.
I love the honesty. Yes.
Fair enough.
But, now I would say that there is a better life for you. There is a different way. I know that you can't be happy doing what you're doing. I know in the moment when you get your fix, everything feels okay. You can numb out everything. But how long is that going to last? That's going to work until it doesn't anymore. And when you run out of options, just know that there are people out there that are willing to help you through this process and have gone through the same thing that you have gone through.
Awesome.
And I know you're not going to stop until you've had enough, because I was the same way. It took a lot of pain for me to be willing to turn it over. But when you're ready to turn it over, there are people out there that are willing to guide you through that process.
That's awesome. A lot of honesty. Okay, so if you could say something to a family member of a loved one that's struggling with addiction, what would you say to them?
Love them from a distance. I took full advantage of my family and my loved ones, and my active addiction allowed me to completely destroy my relationship with my family, and that's partially because they continue to enable me. They continue to support me. They continue to allow me to manipulate them, knowing that I was actively using. Had they loved me from a distance early on, my journey to sobriety may have been shortened a little bit. I would tell that family member that nothing you say and nothing you do, no amount of begging, crying, or pleading is going to change them until they're ready to be changed, until they've experienced enough pain that the reward of getting high is no longer worth it. Nothing's going to happen. Love them from a distance. They will change when they're ready.
Absolutely agree.
I had an extremely traumatic childhood. I had incredibly poor coping skills, which I believe probably led to the way that I handled my problem. So basically, I had every reason, every excuse, let me rephrase that, to stay high. It took me a long time, probably longer than it should, to come to terms with the things that I needed to change. And it took me a long time to realize that I was the problem. I had lost everything, literally everything. I think I had 4 outfits to my name. I didn't have a birth certificate, I didn't have a social security card, my wallet had been stolen, I had no car, I had no home. I literally had nothing. And it took me to get to that point to want to do something different. And, if you're seeing this, if you're watching this, and you're doing recovery or you're thinking about getting sober, it doesn't have to take you that long. There are people that are willing to guide you through this process. My sponsor always tell me there's nothing about this program that's hard. There's just a lot of things that are uncomfortable. And it took some work, and I was not a believer at first, I would come into the room, I would see all these people sober and claiming that they were sober, and I was like, there's absolutely no way.
Yeah.
I originally came to the rooms to learn how to use successfully, and I found a new way of life instead. If you're wanting to do something different, do the work. The program works. You will see the change in yourself. Others will see the change in you. Things will happen. The 9-step promises will start to come true. And you deserve to live a better life. You deserve to have people. I know that I deserved it. It just took me a while to see that. So I'm incredibly grateful for the opportunity again, guys. I'm glad that you allowed me to come on here and kind of share a little bit of my experience and my hope. And again, keep pushing, keep fighting. There is